right. Welcome to Coffee with Carey Ann. Today, I am happy to introduce to you Miss Meg Herman, owner of Goosehead Insurance of the Low Country, serving the Low Country and Beaufort, and now Georgia and North Carolina.
Right. Yeah, so delighted to be here today. I think we're going to talk about flood.
Yes, exciting things have been happening. So, and nobody better to talk about it with than Meg, she nerds out on all this stuff. So, we're just going to go on. I know you've all probably heard there's new flood maps, so to speak, which it's a little bit confusing. Where do you go? Is it better or worse or what have you? So that's why we have Meg here today. So let's just start right off. Like, when will the new flood maps be effective, so to speak?
Great question. So to your point, Carey Ann, FEMA has approved or signed the letter of intent for our new flood maps to go into effect. And the date, the very important date, is the 23rd of March, 2021. That is the date that flood policies will be rated to a new flood insurance map. And just for your information, we haven't had a map change in Beaufort County since 1986.
That's crazy to me.
It's an old map.
That's really old.
So lots of questions around the map. I hear a lot of questions from my clients about what will happen.
Yeah.
So it's a good opportunity to talk.
So how does one find out how their flood zone maybe has changed?
So the thing that you want to do if you're in the town of Hilton Head, you go to the town of Hilton Head website and we'll pop up a link here and you can actually put your address in and it will show you the old flood zone and the new flood zone. So it gives you an indication of where you are. In Beaufort County, like outside of Hilton Head, we'll put a couple links up, but you'll not likely need to go to the actual FEMA panel, the map panel, to see your own property.
And we can always call you, right?
Absolutely.
You can look it up for us because that's sometimes, like I said, it gets a little confusing. So it's nice to have an expert on your side to help you with that. So, we've had the flood zones. I know you've all heard of flood zone C, A7, etc. So what are the new flood zones? What are they called? How are they different?
Yeah, right. Great question. So on the 1986 map, you may hear people talking about their house being in flood zone A7 or A8. And the new map has those A zones, or what we call a higher risk zone, special flood hazard area zone, as AE. And then each AE zone will have its own base flood elevation determination, and you can really see it on the map. So no more numbered A zones, it's going to be an AE zone with a certain base flood elevation.
Oh, okay.
And then the more moderate zones that we know of today, flood zone B, C, and X, what you'll really see on the new map is X and something new called shaded X.
Ooh, shaded.
Or X shaded. My house is actually moving into X shaded. And that means that property is now eligible for a preferred rate from the National Flood Insurance Program. And typically those homes that are in a more moderate location may not need flood insurance for their mortgage requirement. Of course, talk to your mortgage lender, but it's an interesting transition that we actually have homes on Hilton Head and in Bluffton in the Beaufort County area that are moving from the special flood zone area to a more moderate risk area.
Oh, so that maybe their flood insurance will improve in a positive way.
Exactly.
Instead of in a negative way.
By and large, just a sweeping comment, the new map should be advantageous to most people in Beaufort County.
Wonderful. Well, that's really great. It's about time. 1986 was a really long time ago. So, what other questions are people kind of asking about? Like, what other things do we need to know?
So my clients ask me all the time, like, how will my flood insurance rate change? It's a great question, and it almost requires a little bit of a crystal ball. There's a lot that goes into the rating of a flood insurance policy, and there's the underlying data from which the map is from, kind of configured, and it's my understanding that is changing, and then of course our base flood elevation is changing. There's really no way to know how exactly your rate will be impacted until March the 23rd, 2021.
Really? Okay.
Yep. With that said, if you're moving into a more moderate risk zone, that you could apply for that preferred type of policy, and that rate's pretty easy to determine. It's standard. There's a preferred rate in the National Flood Insurance Program. So
So really the best thing to do is go and find out what your flood zone was, what it is, and if you feel like your flood map has changed in your favor, call Meg or your insurance person and say, hey, is there an opportunity for me on March 23rd, 2021 to
have your policy sort of reevaluated based on the new map. Yeah, that's my my advice is the new map is effective on the 23rd of March. And it's my understanding from our underwriters at the various flood companies we work with that that's the date at which time you really need to request a review of your flood insurance. So you could contact your company, you could contact your agent. I know in our agency, we're going to be making a blanket request to our flood carriers to review all of the policies. And I think that's the best way. And then it may take several weeks because this is going to be an exciting time of change for everyone.
Right.
But it's my understanding as long as you make that request, the request should go back to the date of the map change.
Oh, okay.
So that's great, right?
So it'll be retroactive. Almost.
Right, even if it takes them a few weeks to do it.
Oh, good.
Right.
Well, that is good.
So request your midterm review. If you're moving into a more moderate risk zone, they should be able to actually change the policy type as well if it's going to be a preferred policy. So.
And if you don't need to get a new elevation certificate, the elevation is what it is. So
that's a great question. I get that one from my clients all the time. Do I need a new elevation certificate? As long as you have a valid elevation certificate, and there's a number of things that make an elevation certificate valid, but as long as you have one, you shouldn't need a new one to have your policy reviewed. And the caveat to that would be homes that are what we call pre-firm, before the 1977 map. Some of those folks don't have elevation certificates. If you don't have one, in that case, then you'll want to get one to have your insurance reviewed.
Okay, you might need to do that pretty soon because they're going to be pretty busy probably.
It's going to get crazy.
People who do the elevation certificates. It's a survey company.
The surveyors, right.
The surveyors, so okay. All right, well, thank you for listening in today. And if you have any other questions, feel free to contact Meg Herman at Goosehead Insurance. You'll see her number and name up here on the screen, or me, Carey Ann at Keller Williams. Thanks again.